Hello again. I've run the very awkward part of commentating, announcing your own presentation is that there's no lead in at all. Before we begin, we will give away some stickers because we haven't done that in a hot minute. So let me just head over to our giveaway page. Oh, there's a bunch of you already in there. So let's hit one and roll. We're going to give away 3 because we're a couple behind our planned schedule. Mike, you can't have it. You literally have all the stickers. You don't get an extra one. You simply do not. Let's try again. Oh, why are we getting people who've already got them? Wait, we're gonna get it. Third try lucky, third try lucky, third try lucky. Holly is also already getting one because she presented. Fourth try lucky, fourth try. Fourth try lucky, this is not scuffed at all. This is fine. Everything is fine here. Sam06020, if you would like a sticker, please message either Mike, Carly, or myself. Mike has every sticker. He doesn't get more. And we will get it to you. Another one. Michelle, you're already getting one. You don't get another sticker. Billy Fryer, if you would like a sticker, message Mike, Carly, or myself about details for how to get that to your location. And lastly, 10, you're getting a sticker. Message one of us. Okay, good. That went fantastically. We will now get started. So my presentation is on Olympic women's hockey as told through the development of shooting patterns. And is aptly labelled Ready, Aim, Fire. Now, since I've been talking your heads off all day, I thought I'd actually tell you a little bit about me. You know, we'll get to that. So I'm actually a primary school STEM teacher, which essentially means I teach kids how to code. But I have a Bachelor of Teaching, a graduate certificate in sports analytics, and most recently I completed my Master's in STEM education, specifically completing my research project on the topic utilising student investment in sports as a vehicle for STEM engagement, which essentially means I made small children track sports games and then make curriculum-aligned charts on it. I've also been producing publicly available women's hockey analysis since 2018, and I presented at WHKYHAC in 2019 and WHKYHAC in 2021. During that time, I've also worked with the AWIHL, doing publicly available broadcast analytics. So I hand-tracked an entire season worth of shots and made charts that went live during the game. And then I've also worked with the Newcastle North Stars, where I did manual tracking of shot locations, Corsi, by situation. Yeah, far more than any person should ever do with 3 notebooks and 2 coffees before every game. The plan for today's talk is to have a little look at the data and the process it took us to get there, a little bit of team analysis, a little bit of player analysis, and then some takeaways. Now, this is a quote that I originally used in my RITSAC performance, and while it's a little less accurate than it was then, it's still not inaccurate. And that is to say, I would never humiliate myself by scraping data. I only use 100% artisanal track data that is hand-collected by a remote tribe in the Andes that I will not name out of a deep respect. Look, there's not a lot to scrape. The data we're using includes shot locations from Salt Lake City to Reno, Vancouver, and Pyeongchang, and is via the official Olympic reports, which are compiled by Omega. These were then digitized using the ShotPlot Shiny app that I made as part of my master's, almost exclusively by Mikhail. I essentially started this digitization project and was like, people come help me, got bodied by the start of the school year, and then promptly dropped the entire project. And Mikhail really took one for the team and just like carried that. Like, I'm eternally in his debt for this situation. You will notice, however, that something is missing. Namely, Sochi. Sochi is missing in action. If anyone can find it, I personally will pay an arm and a leg. Please, where is she? I miss her so much. Nagano is also missing, and while it was originally assumed that that data simply was not tracked due to the time period in which that Olympics took place, recent events have indicated that that may be incorrect. So if you have the Nagano data as well, I am very interested. The process for our data was kind of as follows. So to start with, we compiled all the data together and averaged the count of those shots by the X and Y location across the entire data set and adjusted that to reflect that of a single game. So essentially we got, a rating of how likely a shot was to occur from a single point in an Olympic game, full stop. We then padded out that data for locations with 0 occurrences. So like if X -3, Y 20 didn't have a shot, we put a 0 there. We then repeated this process with teams by year, player by year, and then also team years overall. By again averaging the count of those shots and then padding out where the zeros are, in order to produce a positive or negative value for each point on the map. So what you can see here is a breakdown of those 4 years as a whole and whether it's positive or negative. So red in this case shows a higher than average amount of shots, and teal shows a lower than average. And what is really interesting to me in this visualization is almost the complete reversal in shot density locations between 2002 and 2018. With that movement in the inner crease as well as an increase to the outer circles happening in 2018, while in 2002 we weren't seeing any shots in the inner crease. However, we were seeing a lot more in what I would consider that core diamond outside of the net, Royal Road area and up near the nets. 2008 and 2010 do tell us a little bit of a story as well. However, it very much is marked as a transition period in between those times where we can see kind of a shifting change. No one's really dominating, there isn't really a clear area of the ice where people are congregating for shots that we can see in the 2002 and the 2018 data. When we then break this down and look at this by team, it depicts a fairly accurate picture of the state of women's hockey at each Olympics. We've only included 5 teams in this chart: Canada, Finland, Russia, Sweden, and the United States, and these are because they are the only 5 teams that competed in all 4 of the Olympics in the data set. What we can really see here is the declining dominance of USA and Canada, with a definite peak almost occurring in 2002, that peak from 2002 to 2010, where they had a clear ownership of ice space, even in comparison to their closest rivals. 2006 and 2010 are particularly interesting to me because whereas in 2002 we kind of see this all over, shot density occurrence. 2006 and 2010 we really see a convergence on that area immediately outside the crease by both Canada and the USA. Canada definitely did it a little bit better, but you can still see the same thing mirrored in the USA. Unfortunately, the Sochi data is missing, so we can't quite see that decline in dominance. But if we look at the 2018 data, you can see that they no longer have those really strong points on the heat map where they just have a complete, no one's stopping them in that area. And in a way, I'm really putting this down to improving defensive structures across all national teams, with teams really putting a focus on not letting players get to that immediate area in front of the net. But is it worth it? Are these the places they really shoot from? I did an XG model. It is nothing like the XG model we saw earlier today, but it works. It's just a basic GLM regression model, as we were only using this data set, so we really had a small amount of data to work with in terms of what variables we could use. So to make it, we started off with shot location, shot distance, and shot angle being our only variables. However, we found that had a significant skew in a conservative sense, particularly towards Team USA and Canada. with, pretty much no players getting anything over 2.5 xg, even if they'd scored, 9 goals in a tournament. In order to kind of try and fix this, we started to adjust for shooter ability by including not only the player's team, but also their total shot count in an Olympics, with the idea that, if a player shoots more, they're more likely to get goals. And we wanted that to be reflected. This gave us an area under curve score of 0.74, which, the best thing that ever existed, but it'll do kind of thing. But it does still skew a little conservative in regards to the higher goal count, but we weren't willing to add anything else out of fear of kind of overfitting this model. So here you can see a simple dot plot of goals versus XG, and that's where we can really see that conservative lean occurring in the goals department, as players who scored 9 goals in Olympics are still getting an XG of under 5. And while it isn't maybe the most serviceable XG model that has ever existed, it does fit our purpose, and particularly when you consider we're working with data from 2002, I'm not mad about it. So we look at this comparison of density versus XG. We start to see kind of where the most efficient shots are coming from. So, this density chart is looking at every single shot taken in any single Olympics by any team. So it's a very general chart, but we can see that clustering immediately outside the crease and a second band just above the blue line. Whereas our XG works pretty much as we'd expect it. More, higher chance the closer you are to the net, with kind of a tapered arrowhead heading out from the crease. We can then use that XG when we look at national maps to consider whether or not teams are taking shots from areas that are effective. Now we have country charts go brr. This is every country in every Olympics that we have data for. It is small. I will post a bigger version on my Twitter at some point after the event. But you can really see there Canada and the United States, Finland as well, and that smattering of red. Shout out to Switzerland at the last Olympics, who really popped off. But in the same way, you can really see the difference between those top teams and those bottom teams, because if we look at Korea, if we look at China in 2010, if we look at Italy in 2006, we're seeing that really concentrated teal blob right in front of the crease, where their teams are shooting at a significantly lower rate than the average. And while this is all, I guess in a way, assumed information, of course we know these teams are worse. This has been the first time we've really been able to see this and prove it. When we go on to look at individual performances, we can start looking at where the best players who are shooting from, and then also how that shooting pattern changes Olympic cycle to Olympic cycle. So this is our top 10 individual performance in expected goals, and even within these 10 examples, we can already see a vast array of shooting locations. We have people like Stefani Marti, who it's a very scattered shooting map, doesn't really have a key cluster that she clearly shoots from, but more so just everywhere. Then you have players like Jana Hefford, who is very much in on the left side of the net, and that is where all her shots are concentrated. Hayley Wickenheiser, smack bang between the hash marks, Royal Road, draw a box. That's where she shoots from in 2002. Megan Agosta, right in front of the goal mouth, but then slightly out through the right face-off circle. This is, stuff that is really interesting to look at, and I really enjoyed kind of delving into it, and we will come back to these in a moment. But first I want to look at the difference between forwards and the best 10 defenders. Look at the defenders, it's telling a much different story, but again, we can still, to a level, tell a lot about a player's play style from where they're shooting on the map. We have players like Tara Mountsie, Colleen, I practiced saying this name 10 times and I forgot. Satorix, and Cheryl Pounder, who are almost exclusively right side of the ice players, you know, straight up and down, but right side. Meanwhile, there's players like Teresa Brisson in 2002, who very much arced around the blue line and had kind of a set area where she shot from. And then Angela Rodrigo is on here 3 times, 2002, 2008, and 2010. So if we have a look at her different locations, we can kind of see the development of her as a player to a certain extent. In 2002, very much kind of had 2 almost like routes, I would say, she was shooting from. We had one that was definitely a swing down the left-hand side of the ice, straight into the crease. And then we had a high angle near the blue line from the right side that I would probably say is on the power play, because this is an all-shot location situation. 2006, we see a change. She's no longer doing that swing down the left-hand side of the ice. Instead, it's a lot more Royal Road and then across the blue line. Move again to 2010, Royal Road, right-hand side of the ice, barely anything where she was originally shooting from in 2002. So clearly a different role on the team at that point in time. One player I would really like to highlight is Natalie Darwitz. Please consider this my official entry to get Darwitz into the Hockey Hall of Fame. Why is she not there? I have many questions. Natalie Darwitz has represented the US women's national teams at 3 Olympics. She has 14 goals in this data set, which is the highest, and 9.78 XG, which is the second highest in the data set. Her shots in 2002 and 2006 are really centered to that Royal Road area. Like, she lives there. We like it there. But we do see a definite increase between 2002 and 2016, which can be purely accounted to her becoming a considerably stronger player, just in her play style and also in net front presence. In comparison to 2010, it becomes increasingly scattered. It's almost like someone set off a firework, and all of her shots that used to be like very clustered in a little ball just explode out all across that front half of the ice area, and was clearly a change in role with her team. She was no longer required to be the person who went in and got dirty in front of the net, instead playing a little bit further out, a little bit safer, potentially more of a veteran role on the team. I feel like it would be remiss to do historical Women's Hockey Olympic analytics without talking about Hayley Wickenheiser. In fact, I feel like if I didn't, I would be tried for some crime somewhere. Hayley Wickenheiser had a really interesting shot map to me. In 2002, she hugs both face-off circles when she shoots, almost so strongly that from her like heat map, you can actually see the outline of the circle in where she shot from. It was like she saw the red line on the ice and was like, I shoot from here, and this is my shooting spot. In comparison to 2006, we were very straight up and down the middle, with barely anything coming from those locations on those red lines of the face-off circles. Which is, you know, a pretty big change when you consider how closely she followed that in 2002. In comparison, again, much like Natalie Darwitz, almost a fireworks-like explosion in 2010, with her shots really scattering out across the ice, probably due to a change in a role in the team and different things being expected from her as part of the game. For a more, I guess, recent player, I wanted to touch on Megan Agosta. This is one that I'm really upset we don't have the Sochi data set for, because we have a massive gap in it. But we can really see the development of her as a player, even across these 4 years. You know, 2006 was her first Olympics, and we see a small, but not insignificant amount of shots, but still a small amount of shots exclusively clustered directly in front of the net. Like, she drew a line and was like, I shoot from here, I shoot from here. In comparison, 2010 was the highest XG of any player in a single tournament, and we really see her taking command over that space around the net, but also being willing to move a little bit back and more in between those hash marks. moved to 2018, we're still staying in front of the net, but we've also added shooting from the right face-off circle, kind of to our arsenal of locations where Megan Agosta shoots from. So now not only is she a terrifying net front presence, she's also learnt to shoot from the face-off circle, potentially something to do with power plays, and you'd really have to look into Team Canada's power play structure and what role she played there. But based on the location, like that could have something to do with it, that she's moved from being net front on the power play, or not on the power play at all, to being that right circle. The last player I would like to look at is Julie Chu, and this is simply because I really love watching Julie Chu play hockey in the tapes I could find. But you win some, you lose some. 2002, she has a very straight up and down the line, but not a ton super close to the net style of play, with more of them being clustered in that mid to late area. Whereas when we look at her 2006 data, more closer in, couple further out, still kind of straight up and down the middle. And then lastly, 2010, not as many shots, clearly a change in role, just not getting those opportunities to shoot, because I don't think Julie Chu just suddenly forgot how to shoot. I think, it was an adjustment in ice time and different players being on the team and, the things like that we don't necessarily think of all the time. So takeaways from this. I think we definitely saw a development of play styles, both on a team basis and also on an individual player basis. Particularly this idea of net front presence and defending the house. We saw this from all the teams, and it's definitely something to take into consideration when we are considering particularly earlier years hockey data and where they're shooting from. That those defensive structures that we just kind of take for granted, yeah, of course you defend this area, we know it's got a higher chance of going in, didn't really exist as much in 2002. Some limitations, missing data. Please, I'm begging you. I would love Nagano data. I would love Sochi data, particularly the Sochi data. Anyone who's ever watched a coding stream from me while I was working on this knows how much I am mad about the Sochi data. Additionally, the depth of said data. The data is all situations, and that does make it difficult to work with. I can sit there and I can say, I'm pretty sure these shots are coming from, a power play just based on where they are and stuff like that. But I don't know that for sure. And I probably won't know that for sure, ever. So that is something going forward that would be really interesting to somehow work out how to do. But short of, NBC straight up giving me all of their Olympic footage, I don't see that happening. Really quickly, because I did see people in chat saying it, all of this data is available on the data tab of our website. It has all been digitized. It is in beautiful CVS files. Please send your personal thanks to Mikhail, because he did that. Some acknowledgements before I end. I want to start by thanking Mike, which is just going to end up with the two of us crying, but I got to do it. I went back through our messages, which, boy howdy, did I have to go back through our messages, and found the first still existing instance of us talking about women's hockey analytics, which was literally us just yelling at each other saying, it's so exciting to have someone else to talk stats with. There was definitely earlier stuff on the Ice Garden, but for a while there, it kind of felt like the two of us against the world. And to, see a conference like this is phenomenal. And also, I don't know how long I would have kept doing hockey stuff without Mike. So apologies if if I made him cry. It had to be done. Next up, thanks to Mikhail for, digitizing everything. Oh my goodness. I would never have got that done because it simply wasn't occurring. And Tan, who I just saw scream in chat, being like, wait, what have I done? As against everyone else, that kind of thing, which I feel like everyone should know. Everyone's probably sitting there right now being like, who is Tan? Why is Alyssa thanking Tan? Tan does fantasy football statistics. He streams on Twitch and is a massive member of the for Data Science community. I recommend following him. half these charts would not have get done without Tan troubleshooting them while I tried to build them on stream. And for that, he deserves the world, because I honestly would have probably given up. That is my talk for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, pop them in chat. If not, I will send us over to the waiting screen. Let us just... Also, we have to wait at the moment, because, the cons of me doing my own presentation is that, the up next screen for the next presentation is not prepared yet. So everyone just has to hang with me while I make that happen. We good? We don't have any questions? I can go? Oh, dumb question. Has anyone asked the IIHF for short location data? Yeah. I've emailed both the IIHF and the IOC, and neither of them have any idea where it is. And last time we got any answers out of the IIHF, they informed us that they lost a bunch of women's hockey data in a basement flood a couple of years ago. So that's what's up with that. Do with that tragic information what you will. Doesn't look like there is any questions, and if they are, I'll be hanging around in chat and here for social hour. So I am going to send us to the up next screen, and I will see you again very shortly.